ICHRRF annual conference. Those of you who came today for the first time, kindly register yourself, your name, email address at the registration desk. We are going to start fairly soon. If anyone wants coffee or breakfast, you can bring it from the breakfast room to here. That's not a problem, but we are going to start with the session. So today's session has very, very important presentations, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce a senior colleague, an intellectual par excellence, somebody with worldwide vision, who is not only a human rights activist, but also a scientist, author, intellectual. Professor Yashwant Pathak has a Ph.D. in Pharmaceutical technology, and he has multiple degrees in conflict management. He is professor and associate dean at the College of Pharmacy at University of South Florida, Tampa. He has 3 Fulbright Fellowships awarded to him. He is a fellow of American Academy of Sciences. He has more than 200 peer-reviewed publications, 3 US patents, 2 patent applications pending, more than 30 books. He has traveled probably in half of the world. United Nations have 194 countries. He has probably traveled to half of them. He has been invited from various universities for lectures, conducting workshops, etc., etc. He has received multiple awards from Australia, Brazil, UK, New Zealand, Ecuador, Trinidad and Tobago. He also works for International Center for Ethno-Religious Mediation, ICHRRF, as part of his expertise in conflict mediation and conflict resolution. He also chairs the Uberoi Foundation for Religious Studies, Research Institute for World Ancient Traditions and Cultural Heritage, and ITCS, International Center for Cultural Studies. I am very proud to say that he is the moving spirit behind the ICHRRF. He is a senior mentor for our fellowship training program, and he is also a member of the board of directors of ICHRRF. Yesterday we talked about Chibok girls, 300 girls abducted by Boko Haram, and he is going to be talking about that. The title of his presentation is Boko Haram, Brutality Against Women and Girls, a Blatant Violation of Human Rights and Religious Freedom. So without further ado, let's invite Professor Yashwant Pathak, and let's give him a round of applause.
So, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And it is so nice to see you all here. We are in United States of America. And in United States of America, you cannot survive without the stress. And if you do not have any stress, then the people create the stress. And I am going to share with you a very nice story. Well, there was a wonderful singer, and the singer just started saying ah, and the organizer of the program told him, wait. He said, what happened? There is the cage behind you, but it's okay, you can sing. Then he said second ah, he said, oh wait, what happened now? I said the cage has a tiger which is there, but you sing. And then next time it said the tiger is hungry, for last 10 days he hasn't eaten anything and the cage doesn't have a lock. So that was creation of stress. The singer couldn't perform. And same similar feeling I am having now, because the way Dr. Adityan introduced me, I am thinking like there is a cage behind me, tiger ready to eat me. So in America we don't perform without stress, and thank you Dr. Adityan for creating that stress. I really appreciate that. I am so happy to meet people. I was so impressed. I shook hands with a good number of them. I got a person from Sumatra, Indonesia, and he said, "Oh, you are wearing batik from Sumatra." And that's where I met our Lithuanian. I was in Lithuania, and it is such an interesting thing that I met one of the great artists of Lithuania, and he has beautifully painted these 7 levels of heavens, which is also in India and also practiced in Lithuania. So it's fantastic to meet all wonderful people. We had people from Taiwan, and I just hired 2 people from Taiwan to work in our college, and it was very nice to see all diverse things. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for coming. I am part of the board of directors here, a small person in the system, and I know you are very well long time. So great. So we are going to, it's unfortunate scenario I am going to share with you, which is a very tough thing, and you will find that this is a picture of the Nigeria. You see it, and in the one part of the Nigeria, this has been happening there. So you have, Nigerian women describe Boko Haram abduction. Is it the other one, the updated one, or you picked up the old one? There is an updated one I sent you today in the morning.
Oh, this morning?
Yeah. Can you please? Yeah, it will be, because that usually is probably the old one we have. Just wait.
Give me a minute.
Got it? Yeah.
Ah,
I am a professor, so I always keep on updating my presentation till I stand. Now I cannot update it because I always believe that I should come up with the recent things and have it. So that's the problem with me.
this is what I have now.
Can you, is it possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then this it?
No, the before that? No. Again, it's not updated one. Yes, the Boko Haram.
Are you sure? This is the one?
Correct. This is the one. Thank you. So I just wanted to share some information about that, because the name Boko Haram comes from the Hausa language. In Nigeria there are several beautiful traditions. Actually, one of the best tradition in Nigeria is Yoruba, and we will talk about Yoruba in the evening when I will talk about that. But the Hausa language, and it roughly translates to Western education is forbidden. So the purpose of Boko Haram, the name itself was that they were against the imperialism, whatever you want to call it, but through Western education they thought that the world is changing, their world is changing, and that's why they built up this organization. Name was given to a group, local residents of Nigeria, and though the group itself originally went by a different name in Arabic, so they had African name and Arabic name. They were 2 different things. So they were misleading the local population also in that system. So Boko is a Hausa word that originally meant fake, but over time came to refer to secular and Western style of education. This is where, so they thought that Western style of education and the thought process are fake, and they are not in any way in tune with the Nigerian African tradition. And this is where they were getting the appeal and more people joining their group. And then haram is the Arabic word meaning forbidden, sacrilegious, and often used in the context of Islamic law. So in the name itself, they were putting the concept of Islam, hiding the actual what intent of that concept was. So the name is shorthand for the groups of deep opposition to Western ideology. So the purpose of the Boko Haram, when they initiated, they were telling the African people that look, we are in favor of African traditions. We are doing something good to the African people, and that's why they said rejection of Western education. And then they said establishment of Islamic law and finally opposition to the Nigerian state. So these were the basic concept. They built it up over the period of time and they started one of the major thing was Western education, and this is where, believe it or not, but because of their existence, thousands and thousands of women were thrown or they opted to get out of the education system. They opted to get out of education system, not attending any Western education or not attending any education per se. Next slide, please. So, the focus of Boko Haram, the name reflects the group's extremist ideology, which seeks to blame Western influence for Nigeria's widespread corruption, establish a pure Islamic state based on their extreme interpretation of Sharia law, and prohibit social and political activity related to Western society, such as voting or wearing Western style of clothing. They were insisting on that, and they were insisting it in a very violent way, and that's where we will see some of the violence they did that. So it's interesting to see that Boko Haram on face was an African organization, but inside it was closely associated with ISIS, the terrorist organization of Islamic State. And this is where there are a lot of information which has been put forward in literature, which was showing the relationship, which is the African never knew it. You know, those people who were supporting Boko Haram in Nigeria, African people, they were not very much aware of what exactly the purpose of this. Next slide, please. So, first thing they did was on 14th of April 2014, Boko Haram abducted more than 250 girls to create a terror around the system so that the women will stop going to the educational institutions which are propagating the Western thought processes or adopting the Western educational system. And that's where it was happening. And the moment the Islamic State of West Africa province, ICHRRF, have persisted as a significant threat to Nigeria and its neighboring state in the Lake Chad region, that was one of the areas there. And the audacious attack perpetrated by both factions on civilians and security posts, coupled with adverse effect on their activities and vulnerable populations. So what they did was, in order to create a terror in the Nigerian society in that area, they abducted these women. And it was a large number, they were all high school students, they were not like, adults, they were mostly high school students were there. And then next slide. So, here is the picture of the women which were abducted. Once the girls were abducted, but then they immediately insisted the Islamic dress for them. So the African traditional dress we have our sister here wearing, that's gone, and then they forced them to use the veil and all those things. And founded in 2012, the Muhammad Yusuf from factional gangs and Islamic sects from city of Maiduguri, Boko Haram, also known as JAS or Jamaate al-Sunnah al-Dawati wal Jihad. So this was their Arabic name. So it's very, it's like a camouflage and concealment there happening with Boko Haram. And that's where it was considered to be the Nigerian Taliban. So not only ISIS on one side, but the Taliban also participating in the movement of its nascent years, established its own socio-political institutions, providing welfare, food, shelter to attract followers. And they were doing these aspects also simultaneously, but in the disguise of doing it. And this is the picture which was taken from the, where the girls were abducted. Next slide, please. So there was a rampant conversion of the abducted girls. Now most of these girls, a good number of them were partly practicing the traditional African wisdom. They were, they didn't recognize that, they converted into Islam. There were a good number of Christian girls who were also part of these abducted girls, and they were converted forcibly to the Islam, and then they were used as sex slaves for the Boko Haram people, and that was the worst part of it. And the video was first reported by Agnes France-Pressy. The agency said that Shekau claimed some of the girls converted to Islam, as he talks on camera for 17 minutes and several girls speak as well. It is thought that the majority of the abducted girls were Christian. Although there are a number of Muslims among them, the BBC report correspondent said the girls appeared calm, and one said that they had not been harmed. This is what they were trying to project to the world, that we are not doing anything, we just abducted them and converted. So next slide please. So Boko Haram militants really killed 18 people, including local religious leaders in Niger. So they started not only in Nigeria, now they started spreading the thing into the nearby countries, and Niger is another country which was there. In 2015, and government said Thursday that Boko Haram militants killed 18 people, and a lot of religious leaders were trying. And then one of the bad things they were doing was if the people do not collaborate with them, then they will burn the villages. They will burn the villages completely. And this type of thing I had personally witnessed in India also, when there was a riot in northeast India, in Assam. Hundreds of villages were burned down by the Islamic people who were attacking Hindus, and it was very sad scenario, but this was happening there. The gunmen arrived in the village in Gogone near the shores of Lake Chad on foot, and then fired indiscriminately on the residents, attacked their homes, and finally burned down their homes there. So it is another thing which was happening was that Boko Haram looks beyond Nigeria in the face of increasing military pressure in 2015 news that was there, and then they tried to spread their activities into different areas, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Benin, and all those things, and the style of working was the same: abducting the women, harassing the women, using them as sex slaves, and finally creating a lot of atrocities. One thing which is not, and I was searching for on the web source, one of the news which was moving, but I didn't get the authentic reference for that. So, but I want to share with you what is spreading, and that was that some of these girls who refused to accept Islam, what they did was they used them as a sex slave, and then finally when they were leaving the camp, they put those girls, tied their hands and their legs, and they made them to sleep on the floor, and then they ran their jeeps, their cars over their bodies and killed them. And that is what the news was there, but I honestly speaking, I tried to find out the source for that. I haven't got it, but that news was there, spread, where they killed those people, and that still people believe that they have done that, and that was the sad part of this thing. So Boko Haram is going global. They are trying to spread their wings in different countries of Africa, and there is a nice book which was written, Unmasking the Boko Haram, Exploring Global Jihad in Nigeria. And this is where, if you look at the history, I want to share with you that what happened was, it's very interesting to know. I just had a interaction with an Ethiopian person, he is also a professor, and we were talking, and I said, Ethiopia, the Ethiopian army defeated 17 times the French army. Not 1 or 2 times, 17 times they defeated the French army. And last time when they had an agreement, the French were smart enough to put the agreement in 2 languages. One was in French language, another was in Ethiopian language. In Ethiopian language they said that we recognize the king and we recognize their things and they are great and all the things. In French language they said that our army will give protection to the king. And this is where the king was one who defeated 17 times the French army. He was getting old. And next time when the French general came, he said, you have signed an agreement that we are going to protect you. And this is where the king lost in Ethiopia, and that was a great, history. Proud to be Ethiopian, should be proud of it. Same thing happened in case of Nigeria also. When the Western world went to Nigeria first time, Nigeria was one of the developed kingdoms. The king and queen of Asante traditions used to wear gold, and they used to carry a pure gold staff. And even today there are places where they use thrones which are made up of 100% gold. But the depiction which the Western world did for these Africans was that this is our black burden. And Asante had beautiful developed systems even for town planning and everything. They destroyed everything and said that Africans are one of the worst people, we have to now uplift them. And they used IMF and World Bank to uplift them, and Africa remained poor and poor and poor. I don't know how they did that, but so this Boko Haram is really trying to spread their wings around, and the Africans are also resisting for that. Please go ahead next. So it is going, this is Jacob Jain who wrote that book, and he's saying that Boko Haram and global jihad, Nigerian jihadists in Sudan and Sahel, Al-Qaeda in Nigeria, ideological preparation of jihad, broken alliances with Salafis. So you can see that the impact is now they are transferring the peace-loving African people into jihadists. Peace-loving African traditions are getting destroyed, and they are putting this concept of jihad, concept of exploiting women and atrocities on women day in, day out in many different African countries, and all the challenges which all these smaller countries are facing, and we are seeing that happening day in, day out. Next slide, please. So Boko Haram back again, and then in 2018 they again abducted many girls from the school. The same strategy they used, converted them. If they don't convert it, then kill them, or they use them as sex slaves. That was there in 2018. Next slide, please. So what they do was, after they abducted the girls in 2018, they harmed and they told the people that no more education for girls. And thousands of girls do not go to school with the fear being abducted, and that's why there are school buildings, but schools, no girls there going there, and that is the atrocities of what they have done. That next slide, please. So Nigerian schoolgirl who refused to denounce Christ remains captive after doesn't freed. So they afterwards, after freed, they will evaluate if there are Christian girls, then definitely they are going to suffer a lot of atrocities on the Christian girls, and they may give little bit of relaxation for the Muslim girls. Next slide, please. So what did the Boko Haram did with the abducted girls? This is a long list. Many were forced to convert in Islam, some were subjected to forced labor, tragically some died while in capacity, and all these atrocities were forced on those abducted high school girls, and they were really in some cases massacred also. Next slide, please. So Boko Haram violations of human rights, they have committed serious human rights violations in Nigeria, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, crimes against women. These violations include killing and maiming. Boko Haram combatants have carried out killings and attacked civilians, destroying and looting their houses, burning their houses, business schools, and women who are not going to the school because they are scared of it. Abduction is another area. The group has abducted forcibly and conscripted hundreds of young men and boys, executing those who resist. If there is a resistance, they kill them. There were 276 female students which were abducted later in 2014 from Chibok. International attention came to the people, and that's where people started seeing the bad side of the Boko Haram. Next slide, please. So Boko Haram violations of human rights, there have been child recruitment and use as child soldiers, torture and other cruel, inhuman degrading treatment to the people who are abducted. Those Boko Haram controlled areas have been subjected to torture, including forced witnessing, and they are doing it to the Christians as well as the traditional African tradition people there, and targeting of humanitarian efforts and infrastructure, which is we are seeing around the world. Next slide, please. That was the last one. No. Go ahead. Next, please. And then this is some picture of how they killed the Christians by Boko Haram and their funeral. A lot of people were there and several bodies were buried together, and that was you can get a lot of information about their atrocities which they are doing it around the world. Next slide. So this is the picture which shows the carrying of the coffins after the attack was done in 2017. And you know, every year something or the other thing happen, and the area which they control is fully controlled. So these are very common happening in that situation. And Boko Haram violations of religious freedoms, and again they don't allow the Christians to pray, and that's where the religious freedom has been also challenged there. Next slide, please. So reported atrocities of women by that. There are a lot of reports which are coming up: sexual violence, forced marriages, and Boko Haram also kidnaps women and girls, subjecting them to sexual and gender-based violence, including rape, forced marriages, and sexual slavery. And Boko Haram attacked, in some cases, held around 130 villages and towns, burned them all. So you see a pattern of atrocities on women in Boko Haram, but that can be seen in other countries also. In Bangladesh it happens, in Pakistan it happens in Afghanistan, it happens in everywhere that is happening there. Please, next slide. And these are the pictures of the girls which were abducted in the first issue, and then you know there was a lot of galata around the globe, and they were talking about these all these challenges that they had. Next slide. And reported Nigerian, so these are the women who reared the children with the Boko Haram Muslims, and then they refused to accept Islam, and then they were they had the challenges, and those children are also having challenges for their growth, because this is a trauma for children as well as their moms. Go ahead. So view of human rights organization about Boko Haram, there are several: Amnesty International, International Criminal Court. They all of them have been putting up a lot of information and lot of hearing that has been done for the Boko Haram activity, and ICHRRF also maybe at some point will be able to do that next time. And Boko Haram in 2025, based on recent information for 2025, Boko Haram and its splinter group ISWAP is still active, posing significant security threats in Nigeria, particularly in the northeast. And here is the breakdown of the situation. So continued violence and attack, stronghold in Borno and Yobe, these are the areas of Nigeria, and ISWAP tactical evaluation and trying to become part of the global Islamic system to build the things. So there is a humanitarian crisis there, so they don't allow the food to get into the area where Christians are there, and regional instability is created into those countries by, I already talked, Chad, Benin and Nigeria, and government inaction criticized, and finally Boko Haram might be weakening compared to ISWAP, it remains significant. So there is a big force also being used against the Boko Haram by the Nigerian government also. Next slide. And these are some of the references which I used for the presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.